Hi everybody and welcome to Cryptid Watch. I'm making another video about this subject because, as you will probably be well aware, the whole internet is blowing up. The Bigfoot and cryptozoological world is blowing up about this documentary called Capturing Bigfoot. Now, I've already put out a video there stating what I think of it. I think the whole controversy right now is completely lacks critical thinking from the side of those who say, this conclusively shows the PGF is fake, because they are going on hearsay. They've not seen it themselves. They just say, oh, certain authoritative people have seen it, certain researchers, whatever, and they've said, no, this proves without a doubt. There's rumors about Jeff Meldrum in there. So at this stage, it's just all hearsay, because you've got people who are pontificating from various quarters, and they've not seen it themselves, which to me completely lacks critical thinking, logic. It's not a scientific thing to do, because we do not have the documentary on general release. And particularly, we've not seen the piece of footage that alleges to show a suit that looks identical to Patty being used for some sort of hoax. Well, a hoax, Again, the people that argue against this counter that it was a rehearsal or it was designed to, spice up the original documentary. But we've not seen it, okay? It's not been on general release. So I'm not going to argue whether Roger Patterson's son saying that he knows it's a hoax, his mum says it's a hoax, that is not how you think critical about that. That is just, it's not even anecdotal, because it's secondhand information at this stage. But again, all we can do is look at what we have on general release, which has been on general release for decades and decades now, which is the Patterson-Gimlin film. So I'm going to put some stuff on screen. And just to let you know, if you're not aware, I'm a digital professional. I have been so for 13 years. Even before that, some capacity. I've been involved in graphic design, web design development, digital images, photo retouching, photo editing. So from the first time I touched Photoshop, we're going on, almost 20 years, a couple of decades. So in terms of digital images, and all of these things are digital images, we're not dealing with the original film. We're dealing with digital reproductions. I can look at that and I can make a fair assessment based on my years of experience, couple of decades with tools like Photoshop and photo manipulation and editing and retouching. I also have a bit of zoological experience in that I was studying a zoology diploma with Oxford College. Admittedly, I didn't complete that. Part of that was because of other time commitments, and the other part of it was when I saw the, scientifically inaccurate information in there, it kind of took my motivation away that I had to regurgitate those things. So yes, I did not complete my diploma, but nevertheless, I had a period of academic study in zoology. I do have a short biology diploma, and I spent a year or so as a fellow member of the Zoological Society of London, which meant I attended lectures, their zoological lectures. I rubbed shoulders with the president of London Zoo, and beyond any, academic credentials or pretenses, if you want to put it that way, I've just spent my whole life fascinated with the natural world, with animals. I've observed many animals in the wild for years. Here in the UK, I've observed animals in the wild in Africa. I would say I'm a fairly educated on the subject to look at the Patterson-Gimlin film and make digital and zoological observations. But at the same time, anybody who has a reasonable argument here, anybody that can think critically with the information we have available on the internet, they can also make a reasonable assessment, because it's not about qualifications, letters behind your name, you've done this, you've done that. It's just about what stands to reason, what stands to logic, what stands to knowledge. what stands up under scrutiny. And something that has definitely stood up under decades of scrutiny is the Patterson-Gimlin film. So without further ado, here is the first image. This is an image of Patty's rear end. Yes, not very dignified for her, but it's been said that this right here is a big butt piece. I don't know why they thought they needed to give it the costume a big butt piece, because it wasn't general knowledge that any Bigfoot had a rather large rear end. These days, there's a number of sightings. There's a that would suggest that, and the joke that Bigfoot should be called Big Butt instead. Now, zoologically, that would probably make sense for a very heavy animal that was walked bipedally for the majority of time, that it would have some development in the gluteal region. But if we look at this image of Patty, the argument is it's a butt piece that does not move naturally like, say, human buttocks. Well, you shouldn't be comparing a 7-foot-tall primate to a human. It would be much better, more pertinent, to compare her rear end to a chimpanzee, to a gorilla, or even a baboon, because primate rear ends are different to human ones. And what we can see there, we can see some gluteal muscles, but what we see is the bulbous rear end of a primate. And what primates also display, well, some in terms of chimps, baboons, etc., is something called tumescence, which is a swelling of the rear end of the female at a certain time of the month when she's fertile, as a very obvious signal to males of that species. So for that reason, the female, well, she'll always have a bigger rear end, and it will grow at those times. So I made a video, and I'll put the link probably down below or on the screen, that I believe Patty may have been showing some tumescence, that may have been a reason for her profile compared to usual profile. But you can see in my image comparisons, that's clearly the rear end of a primate. There is some gluteal definition, but it's not going to look like a human because this is not a human being. What I'm also going to note on this image is the neck. You can see there, the head is set forward. The neck is not non-existent, but it is covered by large trapezius muscles, just like that of a gorilla. And I'll put up the comparison now. Patty has a very gorilla-like profile from behind. We can see the sagittal crest. We can see the morphology of the neck. We can see the strength of the trapezius muscles. This is very gorilla-like and very unhuman, non-human. I'd say inhuman, but that's not the right word. Very non-human. So let's move on. And I'll tell you what I'm actually doing is taking some images from Bob Gimlin as in G-Y-M, the YouTuber who does a lot of Bigfoot and cryptozoologically related stories. I'm a fan of his channel. I don't think he gets everything right, and I think he got this one wrong, because he said he doesn't think it's a hoax, but it could be someone in a suit. But we're going to demonstrate how this could not be someone with a suit. So what you see here is an image he put in this video, and it is a comparison of Patty versus the attempted BBC recreation, which is absolutely laughable. What you can see in the BBC recreation is the fact of human proportions. Our legs are longer than our arms. And as we get taller, our legs only get longer in proportion to our torsos. If you compare us to primates, known primates, and to Bigfoot, to Sasquatch, the photos, the videos we have, case in point being the PGF, Sasquatch has shorter legs in comparison to its torsos, and its arms are longer. Here you can see the arms are pitifully short, and again, you'll counter and say, well, those are arm extenders. Well, the problem is, look at the length of the humerus on the recreation. Very short. Compare that to Patty on the as she's swinging her arms. So her left arm, look how much lower the elbow is compared to the recreation. And then obviously the forearm is a lot longer. Well, you can extend the forearms, but you cannot extend your upper arm. It's physically impossible to do that. On the other side, the other arm, you can see the elbow bend where it is. You can see the inside of an elbow. You can see an indentation there, which is perfectly consistent with a real animal and not with a suit. You can see a tricep contracted. You can see a bicep extended. You can see her wrist flicking back in the manner of an ape when it walks. When a gorilla does that, their wrist flicks backwards. You can clearly see complete difference in the length of the arms. A real creature versus a tacky suit. Look at the legs. Much longer on the tacky suit. Patty much shorter. Look at the mass of Patty. Where do you find someone with that mass, with a skin-tight suit, hair carefully layered on it, that is going to show muscle contractions, anatomically correct features? You can see I believe it's the muscle of the quadricep as it comes to a knee. It joins there near the kneecap. That is anatomically correct, where a tendon from the muscle joins around that area. You can see the calf muscle. There's no bunching. That is a clear calf muscle. You can see these features because it's a real animal. The tacky suit, you can see nothing but a badly constructed suit with just hair, no muscle definition, because there's nobody with those body proportions in the whole world. 1998, they couldn't do it. In 1967, they could not find a skin-tight suit, let alone someone with those proportions to fit it to get the muscle definition, the anatomically correct features that we can see. They're not artifacts, because it would be complete coincidence that the artifacts are happening in all the places to make it look realistic. Even on a left arm, you can see the area of extensors. Again, there's a contraction there as the other wrist seems to be swinging inwards. Everything about this anatomically, biologically, zoologically, morphologically, and all the logics you can think of is correct. Let me even point out the breasts, because they're quite good in this picture. They are not set low, they are sagging. If you look at the breasts of a primate, they are very saggy. Someone needs to buy a chimp or a gorilla a bra. Patty herself has no access to women's underwear, therefore her breasts are sagging. And I've heard it said, well, primate breasts are only visible like that when they lactate. Well, how do you know that she wasn't lactating and wasn't putting herself in the open to distract from a young one somewhere? Because they did, in fact, find smaller footprints. She may have been lactating, so don't make the assumption that this isn't real, because she would not have been showing prominent breasts. In this shot, nipples can be seen, sagging breasts. They are not set too low. They are simply sagging down. You can see a shadow under the breast there that shows that it's sagging. It's not just a bit of rubber or plastic that's put in the wrong area. And if you were hoaxing, why would you put in the wrong area anyway? That would make it so obvious. There's lots of other points we can make between these two suit comparisons, but I will leave that and I'll move on to the next image. Okay, for me, this one's a biggie, okay? This, again, was featured in Bob Gimlin's video. Look at the placement of the legs on the pelvis. That is non-human. They are set forward, far forward, right at the front. Human beings, our legs are directly underneath us. They are not set forward. Again, oh, well, there's a butt pad, but yes, her spine is also set above that supposed butt pad, as is her shoulders. The legs are in a position that humans do not have legs in, but Bigfoot, if you see any of the videos of them walking, they do have this peculiar configuration where the legs seem to be set forward. Again, this could just be because they're able to switch between bipedal and quadrupedal locomotion, and it suits the legs are set more forward so they can just drop down more easily, being habitually bipedal, but also a creature capable of quadrupedal locomotion. Whatever the reason, demonstrate to me somebody who has legs in that position on their pelvis, and you're not going to find them. Okay, this again, somebody else has done this image, but Bob showed it. This is Bob Hieronymus, who I don't think was anywhere near 7 foot tall. I've heard he was only 5'6". Wasn't anywhere near 7 foot tall, which the creature on analysis appears to be somewhere between 6.5, 7.5 feet tall. This is disingenuous because they're cutting off Bob's legs to make them look shorter, whereas we know humans have longer legs. It's disingenuous because he's parallel or walking, on a plane slightly towards the camera, whereas Patty is walking away from the camera. You could say almost at a 1 o'clock position. So this is not a good comparison because they're not walking in the same direction. But if we do look at the comparison, again, they've really tried coping here, reaching to make this line up, but it does not line up. Where they put the lines doesn't add up. Let's start with the ankle. That's not in the same position because they've cut Bob's legs off a bit there. I believe he was wearing cowboy boots, and you can't see his feet properly. Where they put the knee, they've raised it above Bob's knee. You can see a shadow of his patella, but they've raised it up to make it look more like it would be in line with Patty's knee. Patty's knee is set lower than a human being's knee. And then when they try and set you up with the hip, clearly that's lower than a hip because a Bigfoot has a longer femur than we do. Our femur, our tibia fibula, our femur is longer, but it's quite close. Compared to a Bigfoot, their knee is set lower. The lower part, the tibia fibula, is shorter than a human being. So they're reaching here. They're moving the line above Bob's knee. They're trying to really make things come together to make it look like they have the same dimensions. They do not have the same dimensions. And again, the angle's wrong. If you had Patty looking back at the camera, you would see how much longer her arm is than Bob's arm. You would see even more so how the leg does not match up with the legs of a human being. These are different dimensions completely. And also, if we're talking about dimensions, look at her rear end, look at the thickness of her waist. That's not Bob Hieronymus's waist. Not at all. This is a creature. This is not a man in a suit. And then another image. This is from Bob Gimlin's video. I think he put this image together himself. And he's tried to demonstrate that a human head could fit in Patty's head. If this was a mask, the head of a two-piece costume or more pieces, it could comfortably fit with Patty's demonstrably obtuse frontal bone. The angle from her eyebrows backwards to the crest, very obtuse, very low, which matches primates. Does not match human beings. We have almost completely vertical foreheads. He's reached here. He's tried to put the head there and say, yeah, it can happen. Look, easy. Well, where the top of the head is, the mouth does not line up with Patty's mouth. And the most stark thing to me, and this is a real big one, that nobody is going to be able to argue me away from and prove this is demonstrably false. Patty's shoulders and head. Her head is set forward on her body in compared to her shoulders. Her shoulders are set further back. This is typical of a primate. You can see it in a gorilla where the head is set forward. Human beings, our head is almost directly over our shoulders. It is physically impossible to get someone in a suit and make their head move forward of where their shoulders is. This is the real big one. The other ones all add weight to this. That this is not a man in a suit, could never be a man in a suit or a woman in a suit, because it's anatomically impossible to get your neck this far forward. Where the head turns, there is movement on the face as well. People have disputed it's all artifacts. Well, it's a lot of artifacts coming together to make it look a lot like a real creature with real movements. Isn't that coincidental, isn't it? None of the artifacts in the background made the trees look like they were elephants or something, did they? But anyway, here we go. This is similar to gorilla. This is the head placement of an animal though it's habitually bipedal, it can drop down onto all fours, and then that head flexes forward like a gorilla. Then they are able to locomote quadrupedally. If their head was set too far back, they would not be able to do that comfortably. But with this kind of neck configuration, this head configuration, just like a gorilla, they can, like a transformer, switch between the two comfortably, like the parts of a transformer move, as in Transformer Robots in Disguise. So there we have it. The shoulder placement is too far back to be a human being. The head is too far forward to be a human being. This categorically was not somebody in a suit. They had no AI, they had no CGI. The only plausible answer is this was an unknown bipedal primate. A primate with an obtuse frontal bone, a primate with a strong supraorbital ridge, a primate with a sagittal crest, a primate with knees set low, long arms, flexible wrists swinging backwards like a gorilla walking, a primate that displays all the characteristics of known primates, great apes. So, let me know in the comments. I know there's going to be people that disagree with me, but looking at this, it's clearly a primate. It's clearly, to me, an ape. It bears characteristics that we don't know from the known great apes. Obviously, it's habitually bipedal. Its legs are longer. Its face is flatter. But that doesn't mean it is not clearly a primate and not clearly a living creature. So, let me know what you think in the comments. Do you agree? Do you disagree? I know there's going to be a lot of people that don't agree with me. That's absolutely fine. Just don't be abusive. Be critical. Be logical. That's all I'm asking for. And please, please try and counter the points I'm making. I don't believe you will be able to counter them without resorting to ad hominems or straw men or just, arguing baselessly, telling me, oh, it's all just artifacts, blah, 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 etc. I guarantee when this documentary comes out, people are going to have egg on their face because it's not going to show Bob Hieronymus or anybody else in a suit that looks like this creature. It's not going to have any of the morphological features of this creature because it's anatomically impossible for a human being to replicate this. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. Please do like, share, and subscribe. It really helps. If you'd like to help support the channel, there's a link in the description to do so. You can also use our affiliate partners to help support the channel and get something in return. Get your herbal supplements, get your power tools, etc. If you need digital services, check out my company, Mid-Devon Web Design. We'll be delighted to help you. But I really look forward to seeing the release of Capturing Bigfoot. We've seen this kind of thing before. I stand with the people who are thinking critically about this. And I'm sure we'll see, and I'm sure which direction this will end up going. Anyway, hope to catch you soon in the next video. Please check out all my previous videos, lots of Bigfoot stories and analysis, lots and lots of shorts. Spread the word about Cryptid Watch, expeditions to come.